I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, March the 10th, brought to you in part by Brommagen Commodities. The last couple of weeks and Monday here should have showed you guys that you've got to protect yourself on your cattle investments, especially when you're feeding cattle. If you guys aren't sure how to do that, you'd like to learn more about it, you want to get an account open to where you can spur of the moment get something done, get a hold of Candy at Brommagen Commodities. You can find more contact information at brommagencommodities.com, and it doesn't cost anything to open an account. When you've got some time to do it and it's not too late, there's no telling where the bottom's at on this thing. We haven't found it yet, but you can open an account. It won't cost you a thing to get that done, and then once you've got it, then she can make trades for you. She can take orders from you, and you can take a position on the board or buy you a put or do something to try to offset some of this risk, because guys, the way this market is swinging back and forth around, and it's going to continue as we're in an election year here and a lot of kind of shady things are going on. You need to be able to protect yourself. And like I said, it's not too late, and maybe you want to get in and just do your speculative account, and you know this thing's going to bounce back here at some point, and get along for the ride and help push it up. But get a hold of brommagencommodities.com, and they can help take care of that for you. A pandemic, and I tell you what, just terrible deal, and this coronavirus is scaring everybody. The media is spurring it, at least in this country, it's spurring it, and it's just doom and gloom everywhere. You know, from all we know from watching mainstream media is if you leave your house and go about your regular life, you're going to get the coronavirus and you're going to die. The fact of it is there's a chance you could get the virus, and chances are you're gonna be sick for a little bit, similar to the flu, and you're gonna get over it. Now it is a lot worse on older people that got quite a bit of age on them, especially up in their 70s. Yeah, it's hard on them, but not much of anything on younger people, especially kids. I haven't seen a whole lot of problem with it there, but they're just blowing this thing out of proportion. And then now we've got an oil pissing match between Saudi Arabia and Russia. And you know, the timing on this deal is a little bit confusing too. But now you've got some media outlets saying that Russia is dumping this on us to cause confusion, to hurt Trump because they don't want him being president. I thought it was all about Russian collusion, is getting Trump in there as president, and now they want rid of him. Who knows? I don't know if there's anything to any of that stuff, but the oil market, crude oil going down severely, that probably hurt your cattle markets as much as anything else. But you know, the gas is going to be a lot cheaper. I noticed I had to buy fuel on the way back from Fort Worth on Monday, and it was a whole lot cheaper. Going to get a lot cheaper yet here, but that's likely to bounce back up after a few days. But both Saudi Arabia and Russia, they've increased their oil production. They're tanking the price on it, and they get to keep all that, guys. So those kings and those prime ministers and presidents over there, they get to keep all that. It's not like our democracy, our free market system here, where you have individuals that are owning things. But it's just a really tumultuous times, and just hang on. And I would be pretty careful any direction that you try to take something, any investment with cattle. You need to be protected, guys, and to do that you've got to take a position on the board if you're long in the cash cattle market, because my gosh, just you know, $4.50, you know, it can take your head off, and $3 on fats. But I had a good weekend there over the weekend. Was able to do quite a bit of video work late last week for My friend Rodney Howe there with Lone Star Angus will be having his sale here in a couple of 3 weeks in Gainesville, Texas. Went and operated the sale at Rooney Angus in Desdemona, Texas. Brand new first class facility. First sale that they had, been working on that for a couple of years, and it was a very good sale. My good friend Brady Chandler there, he ran it, and very good sale. They averaged well over $5,000 a head on their bulls for the first sale that they ever had. But very well run sale, and it was smooth, and glad they got along. Look forward to doing a lot of business with them down the road. Was able to go to the American Rodeo there at AT&T Stadium. I've been wanting to do that since they started that. Didn't see anybody wearing those paper masks or anything there. They were just enjoying the rodeo. A lot of people there. Pretty good deal. We're going to be heading out to California here this week. The balance of the week going to be in California, and I've only been to California a couple of different times, and I've never been where I'm going this time. But flying into Sacramento, going to be traveling around up in Northern California for the 2 or 3 days there, and doing some speaking events there in California, and looking forward to that. And looking forward to the planes not being too crowded, because the last few years when you try to fly, there's not an empty seat. I bet there'll be a few empty seats on these plane flights here in the next few days. But let's look at the board for Monday. Just tanked. April live cattle futures down $2.90, not the full limit, but pretty darn close. It was limit down at times. 102.85. June live cattle futures down $2.92 at 97.10. So that's sub a buck for fat cattle on a fairly nearby trading quote. That's the first time on nearby contracts that we've seen it go under $1 on live cattle futures since mid-October of last year. March feeder cattle down the limit, $4.50. Every traded month of your feeder cattle were down to $4.50 limit. 126.20 on feeder cattle contract for March. April down $4.50, 125.55. All of them were the limit down. Your fat cattle trade, your weighted average for last week's trade, and your 5 area feeding region negotiated. They sold a pretty good movement, 95,200 head. That's the heaviest movement we've seen for quite a while. And you see the packers take advantage when they get the opportunity to buy them cheaper. And they got in there and bought several cattle, negotiated cash. That 95,200 compares to 77,000 the previous week, and 65,300 the same week a year ago. Look at your live prices for steers and heifers, ranging from 108 to 115.50, mostly 113. Your weighted average live steer price was 113.17. It was down $1.68, but basically $2 lower for the whole market price there. Your dressed steers and heifers ranged in price from 178 to 182. That would be $3 to $5 lower at mostly 181. There was quite a bit of 180s and 182, but a lot of it fell averaging in that 181. Your dressed steer weighted average price was 180.80. That was down $3.98 compared to the previous week. Nationwide, they sold 113,100 head, negotiated cash, 19% of those for the 2 to 4 week delivery. Did have some fat sales on Monday. We hate to hear that, especially on a down market, and you wonder why people sold. Well, they were scared, and they also saw the basis on the board as it fell down there quite a bit. But you know, every time I hear somebody say that there was a basis on the board, I tell them, you know, if they would have got another buck or two for their fat cattle, it would have been even wider. The basis would have been. But if you look at your April live cattle futures, under 103, they sold a handful of cattle in the northern feedlot area at 110. That would be $3 lower. But your dress sales were predominantly where where your volume was at, and it wasn't huge volume, and I'm sure that's probably not going to be the only price they have this week, but they did sell some cattle at 175 dressed. That would be $5-6 lower. Iowa confirmed sales about 1,500, Nebraska about 2,300. Look at your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index for DV auction ended the day on Monday at 132.98, down $1.10 compared to the end of last week. But your steer tracker, that's I want you to look at your steer tracker on there. That's your last sales, the last 25 sales of a decent sized bunch there on the index weight cattle right there was under 127, 126.94. So you get an idea of where this thing's headed. But your 7-day moving average real-time index was 132.98. Look at your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards, Oklahoma City, 7,500 head there, and it was a wreck. Feeder steers $5 to $10 lower. Feeder heifers $7 to $11 lower. Steer calves even $14 to $17 lower. Heifer calves $3 to $10 lower. When's the last time you remember when we were having an early spring here? It's greened up around. There's been ample moisture in most of your major grazing areas, and we're sitting here early to mid-March, and it being sharply lower on calves and stocker weight cattle. But who could have seen this wreck coming? But look at an individual quote come out of National Livestock Commission there at Oklahoma National Stockyards. 84 head, 547 pound steers at 157, and that's pretty admirable quote there. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 5,600 head there. It was sharply lower there too, from $2 to $10 lower. But the best quote that I saw, not the best quote that I saw, but the best test of the market that I saw come out of Joplin Regional Stockyards. Now this would be on just feeding cattle, commodity type cattle here, but this is the market on a big long string of them, guys. And you're always wondering, well, what is really the market? Not really, you know, what the top quote is somewhere, but this is what they're worth. 186 head of 837 pound steers in one crack bring 120.75. That's the market. Russell, Iowa, Russell Livestock, 3,200 head there, $5 to $10 lower. The best quote that I had on Monday doesn't sound real high compared to the recent past there, but best quote that I saw on Monday, Martin Livestock Auction, Martin, South Dakota, 60 head of 671 pound steers, 152 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.